Hello, friends. Happy Tuesday. It's time for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. This is Lena Gersa. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Cambridge, Ontario, Canada, where it is cold and wet and gloomy and just gross today. And I am all about feeling the love. So I spent my day with a dear friend, visiting greenhouses and being around color and spring bulbs, and we had a lovely lunch in amongst the greenery, and it was so nice to actually be around living, breathing plants for a little while today. So I am feeling refreshed, I am feeling the love, and I am really excited to share some projects with you using the Made with Love suite from the Stampin' Up! Brand new Stampin' Up! 2026 January to April mini catalog. Now, this is a suite that I'm true confession time. I actually probably wouldn't have bought it myself because I'm not our family, my husband and I were not really into like gushy sweet Valentines. It's just kind of not our thing. However, I was asked to demonstrate this suite at a Stampin' Up! Canada event at the end of November. So I was given the suite and asked to make some projects. So I was excited to play with something at that time, not Christmas. So I kind of went a little crazy and made a lot of projects. And as I was playing with it, I absolutely fell in love with it. So you're going to see three cards, and then I'm going to show you how to modify the gift little treat bags today. So there's a lot of projects to get through today. And then I've got a whole ton of additional projects to share with you. So it might be a long one today. I'm sorry. I know last week was a marathon with my launch party, but I have lots to share because this really is a cute, fun suite for Valentine's. So if you are joining me, let me know that you're out there. Let me know where you're watching from. And while you are doing that, I am going to flip to my desk and show you the products in the suite. All right, so lots and lots of things to show you here. I'm going to start with the bundle. So we have the Endless Love bundle. That is the bundle that is included in the suite. Lots of sentiments for Valentine's Day, some heart images. And what I love is that the block lettering in this stamp set coordinates with the mini alphabet die. So you can customize or alter your sentiments in all kinds of different ways by cutting letters out using the mini alphabet die. So that was a huge bonus for me when I realized that. It just made this much more attractive because it coordinated with something I already had. So we also, in the dies, we have some cute little X's and O's with hearts for the holes in the O's. Lots and lots of hearts, some arrows, and a cute little tag. So that is the bundle. But then I also wanted to highlight a stamp set that is actually intended for scrapbooking, but that works really, really well for cards as well, and for treat and gifting and whatnot for Valentine's. So this is the Love Story stamp set. It coordinates with the scrapbooking workshop kit and the DSP and stickers that are available that coordinate with this suite. But I love that we have more sort of build a sentiment that so when you combine these two and your mini alphabet dies, the possibilities really are endless. So that is a coordinating stamp set that goes with this suite as well. Not part of the suite, but coordinates. Then we have the Hearts of Love embossing folder. You're going to see this on the first project we use. So I know it's hard to see the pattern on the embossing folder, but you're going to see it on embossed cardstock in a few minutes. So I'll wait to talk more about that then. And then we have, let me move these out of the way. I'm going to show you the beautiful paper. So many heart patterns. And actually this pattern, I absolutely love this one. It's got little bitty flowers, such a sweet pattern in the bubble bath. Actually, it works really well with pretty and pink as well. The other thing that I really love about this paper pack is that it has basically every pink and red that we offer. So if you only have like one pink and one red in your cardstock stash, chances are you're gonna be able to use it with this paper because it coordinates with everything. So we've got these. Actually, this looks like Calypso Coral. It's on the package, it's listed as Flirty Flamingo, but it works really well with Calypso Coral as well. We've got some confetti hearts, some smaller confetti hearts. We've got some X's and O's, hugs and kisses, and then this sort of ombre heart. This, I don't even have a full sheet of this anymore. And then on the back side, we've got more subdued patterns. I love this little arrows pattern, super cute. We've got a stripe. We've got some dots. We've got a sort of dashed stripe. We've got some heart stripes, and then we've got some Fleur de Flamingo tone on tone hearts. So lots and lots of possibilities with this one. And I love that the reverse side is a little bit more subdued and monochromatic than the very, very busy front side. So that is the DSP. And then, of course, we have our treat bags. Now, these treat bags are huge. They are gusseted. So when I open it up, you can see that we have gussets in the side. And look at, like, I can get my whole forearm in there. That is going to hold a lot of chocolate. It has the little twist tie, like a coffee bag closure. So lots and lots of treats and gifts could fit in this one. Now I'm going to show you today how to modify this so that it has a flat bottom if you wanted to make a stand-up treat bag. Okay, so those are the bags. And then we have this adorable bubble bath 1/8 inch faux linen ribbon. This is really soft. I thought it was cotton. It's actually polyester, but it's a really good faux. It feels like cotton. And just that really soft, pretty pink. And then these adorable loose Valentine's embellishments. It's just called loose Valentine's assortment. Can't hold it too close to the camera because it goes blurry, but we've got itty bitty envelopes and hearts and lips. Just really fun for shaker cards or to use them individually as embellishments as well. So really, really cute products. I also wanted to show you, because I forgot to do this during my launch party last week, I wanted to show you the scrapbooking workshop kit as well. So I remembered to bring in my finished layouts. So again, really, really cute. I know it's hard. You can't see the whole thing. The double layout, but I love this sort of paper strip layout. This is one I'm going to copy the scrap lift for sure, because it's a great way to use up scrap strips. So we've got that one, and then we've got this one, which is perfect for a little bitty baby, little girl. Would be super cute. It's got that adorable floral pattern in the background. It's my fave. And then we've got one that's really about love. I love this giant heart and the letters, so fun. And then we've got another page with more photos. So just a really cute scrapbooking workshop kit as well. So lots and lots of possibilities with this week. All right, so before we get started, let me just see who is joining us here. We got lots of people joining in. Hi, Jean, welcome. Hi, Laura and Lauren and Jackie, welcome, welcome. Terry, welcome. The SU box behind me is actually filled with Christmas cards for next year. There is a store here in town that I sell my cards at. So they start taking their Christmas product on just after Labor Day. So I always pack up my Christmas cards at the end of the previous season, and then they get dropped off the Tuesday after Labor Day at the store to be sold over the Christmas season. I wish it was new product. I've got new product coming. Don't you worry. Hi, Deb. Welcome. Hi, Charlie. All right, Susan, welcome. There's finally somebody from Facebook. Okay, Facebook is joining the party. I was a little worried because I was only seeing YouTubers joining. So I see Susan and Joyce. So welcome. All right, so first project we're going to make is this one. So obviously this uses that heart embossing folder. This is a really simple project. This is actually the very first one I made with this suite when I first cracked it open. So I have here a piece of basic white cardstock, and it is embossed using the, what's it called? Adoring Hearts? Hearts of Love embossing folder. And we're going to add a little bit of color. So I love an ombre effect, and I love ink blending. So we're going to bring in our Poppy Parade ink and do a little bit of ink blending. So I'm going to start off the page and come on. And I'm not applying a ton of pressure. I want this to look kind of ombre and blended. I don't want solid color. But what I do love is the way that the pattern, the embossed pattern, really pops by adding that little bit of ink. So I'm just coming around. Always remember, it's easy to add more ink. If you put too much on, it's impossible to take the extra off. So it's always best to kind of do a second coat all the way around rather than to be super heavy-handed the first time around and end up with something that you're less than thrilled with. So I'm going to go back the other direction now and work my way around again just to darken this down a little bit. You'll notice I'm keeping the center white because I want to highlight my focal image. My focal image is colorful, so I want the white background. so that it sort of pops against that rather than being a colored background, having it sort of fade into it. All right, so there we go. Super simple. And oh, we got Mary here. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so Susan, I use both for blending. If I'm doing a large surface like a card front, I tend to use a larger brush. Not always, but that I tend to. If I'm doing a smaller piece or I want to be really, really precise with where I'm putting my ink, I'll use a smaller brush. That's kind of my general rule of thumb. All right, we're going to let that dry for a minute because we are going to add some metallic rub-ons, and they don't apply well to wet ink. So we're going to just let that sit for a moment. And while that is happening, I'm going to show you some of these cute little bits and pieces here. So this little heart is cut with the dies. Let me just bring back the dies here. So we have this little sort of itty bitty confetti heart die, and it can be used in combination with any of these dies to create a little peek through. So that's what I've done on this one. And then what I'm going to do, I want to see gold behind it. I don't want to see my white. I want to see gold. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got a little scrap of gold foil here. I'm going to trim it off. And we're just going to glue that behind our heart so that we see the gold. So I'm just going to put a little bit of seal in a couple of spots here to tack this on. I like to use seal rather than liquid glue whenever I'm using foil, just so that I avoid any kind of smears. And then any excess that's peeking out, I'm just going to take and trim off. I didn't worry about trying to cut a heart shape to put behind it because I don't need a full heart. I just need enough to fill in my little hearts. Okay, so that is that one. I love this sort of squiggle heart. That is another one that works really, really nicely and pairs nicely with this. And then we have our arrow. So this is a large arrow. There's actually two arrow dies. There's one long one and then one it's a single die that cuts two smaller arrows. So this is the larger one. Now what I'm going to do, if I stick this on, I see enough of it. I might be okay. The larger heart, I like to actually trim my arrow and extend it so that it sticks out more, but this one's actually okay. So we're going to go ahead and put a little bit of seal on the back of this. And we're going to just adhere our arrow to the back of the heart. No, you know what? I do want to extend it because I want to see more of my arrow. So I'm just cutting it. I'm going to add a little bit more seal. And I always like to do this so I can see my arrow at the back so that it looks like one continuous. So I'm not like shifting direction so it doesn't look like a broken arrow. There we go. That's better. I like the look of that. All right. We are going to work with our rub-ons now. So I have used these in the past. I am a big fan of these metallic rub-ons. You get a ton of them in the pack, and I just trim off the little bit that I want to use rather than trying to use the whole sheet. So I want this little sort of ink blot here. So I'm going to cut that, and I'm also going to grab these little spots. So I'm just going to trim it out of my sheet here. Okay, and then this is going to go back. I find it easiest to keep these in just an empty stamp case. It keeps them nice and flat, and I don't have to worry about the backings coming off. All right, so I'm going to trim off these little dots because I want just this little ink sort of paint, I don't know, brush stroke, I guess. And there's a backing, a solid backing. I'm going to peel that off, and I'm just going to kind of place this on my cardstock. And then I'm just going to take my bone folder. And I don't want to press too hard because I don't want to pull up or to crush my emboss in my embossed pattern. But I'm just going to rub, and you don't have to rub hard with these. They transfer really, really easily. And just like that, we have that cool pattern. Isn't that neat? And so shiny. All right, now that that's on, we can place our other piece, our other elements. So I have my squiggly heart. I think I put, please tell me I put adhesive sheets on the back of this. Yes, I did. You can probably get away without them, but I'm all about quick and easy. So we're going to pop that on. This is going to go on with a couple of dimensionals. So we'll kind of do a 1, 2, 3 here. Oh, you have the rub-ons, Joyce. Do you love them? Lauren, the big thing with when you're trying to avoid splotches, number one is always start off the side of the page. Okay, don't start directly on the cardstock. And less is more. So apply a little bit less pressure and try and be really even with your pressure. Okay, so now that we've got those on, I'm going to add these little spots here, just kind of coming down below my heart. So again, just rub those little guys on. Doesn't take all that much effort. There we go. And then we're going to add our sentiment. So this is the little tag die that's part of the die set. It's heat embossed in gold. It says today and always, which is one of the sentiments in the Endless Love stamp set. Where did my seal go? There it is. So I'm just going to run a little bit of seal right across, and we're going to stick this right across our gold heart here. I'm going to tuck a dimensional under the end of my banner here, just so that it lays flat. There we go. And then I have, oh, I almost lost my little bitty red heart. I got my little X and O and my white and gold baker's twine. So this is a holdover from the Mini Catalogue. Was part of the Modern Christmas Suite. And I absolutely love this twine. I raved about it all fall. I'm still raving about it. I'm so glad that it is carried over because it works really nicely with this suite, especially if you incorporate the gold elements. So I'm just tying a little bow here, and we're going to take a glue dot and press it into the little hole on the tag. Roll it into a little glue booger there. And then I'm just going to press the knot of my bow. Just like that. Okay. Our last touch is to add our little die cut letters. Did I cut these? No, I don't think I used adhesive. Oh, maybe I did. It looks kind of like I did. All right. We'll just go ahead with glue. Itty bitty bit of glue here. Got my little X and my little O. Oh, that glue's coming out. Oh, and I just turned it face down with the glue. So now we have a sticky spot to live with. We're just going to wipe that off so we don't end up with glue where we don't want it. And then this little teeny heart, you get it when you cut out your X and O. So if you cut them from red, you have your little red heart. And I'm going to put a teeny bit of glue in the center of my O and then adhere my little heart just like that. Okay, and then that is going to get adhered to a basic white panel. So this one was 4 by 5 1/4. This one is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. As always, all of the measurements for all the projects I demonstrate today are in the video description. So if you decide you want to try some of them, they're right there for you. You don't have to try and write down things as I go. Try and make it as easy as possible for you. So we're going to mat that. Just like that. And then that is going to get adhered to a Poppy Parade card base, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So we'll go ahead and crisp that up. Add a little bit of glue. And pop it on. So easy peasy, cute, easy to mass produce, quick card. Okay. All right. So that is number 1 done. I'm just going to pop and go turn off my space heater because it was freezing down here and now I'm dying of heat. So let me just turn off the heat. There we go. Whew, I'm sweating it down here now. All right. So that's number 1. Let's set that out of the way and bring in number 2. So number 2, I can't remember which one I did second. Oh, I think it was this one. So this fold has kind of been everywhere recently, and I wanted to show you a way to use it for Valentine's Day. The fold typically is used vertically, but I switched it and did it sideways. It looks a little bit like a bow tie this way. And so I'm going to show you how to do it. You may already know how. Like I said, it is everywhere right now, but I thought I would show you how to do this one. It's actually super easy. So I'm starting with actually a 6 by 6 piece of DSP, and I'm going to bring in my trimmer. And the first thing I'm going to do is cut. Now I need to think about which way I want this to go. Okay, I want my lines to run side to side, and that's the direction I want to be 5 1/4. So I need to cut it this way with my lines running side to side. So I'm going to flip this over just for a moment, and I'm going to cut that 6 by 6 piece at 5 1/4 inches. Okay. This little strip we can set aside. And then I'm going to turn it back around. It doesn't really matter which side I'm cutting on, but I want to have that 6-inch length at the top. Okay, so we got the 6-inch length at the top. So with 6-inch length at the top, 5 1/4 this way, I'm going to line up that 5 1/4 inch left side at 2 1/2 inches. Okay, and then this remaining piece, I'm going to cut at 1 3/4, which effectively just cuts it in half. Okay, so I'm going to get my trimmer out of the way because that's all the trimming there is to do on this little fold. There's actually no scoring involved. I thought for sure that there was going to be scoring involved. There is not. So we've got 1 2 1/2 inch piece and 2 that are 1 3/4. Now I'm going to bring in my Poppy Parade panel. So this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I am going to work on this with it vertical. Okay, I just find that easier for now. And then when we're ready to decorate it, we're going to reorient it. Okay, so I'm going to bring my 2 1/2 inch piece. I want to see the hearts when I fold my panels back. Okay, so this piece, I need to see the hearts on top. So when I go to glue this on, I'm going to glue it centered on this panel, and I'm going to have a narrow little 1/16 of an inch border top and bottom. So I'm just going to put some glue on there. And we're going to pop this on. Centered. Now it doesn't have to be perfectly centered. This is a super forgiving card. So if you are not great with measurements or cutting exactly, this one's really, really forgiving. Okay, so we've got that piece on. Now, these other 2 panels, I'm actually going to flip over. So when I glue these on, I'm going to be putting my glue on the heart side and gluing them so I see the stripes on top. Okay, now the trick here is I only want to put glue on this outer edge, on this left edge. So I'm flipping this over. I'm putting glue on that outside edge. I'm not putting it anywhere else. I'm going to flip it back so that the stripe side is facing out and adhere it. So I only have glue on that outside edge. Here, I can still get my fingers under. Okay. Now, you can do it opposite this way, or just flip it around and do it. Now, I can do that because this is not directional DSP. If you are using directional DSP, it may be better to make sure that you do the 2 sides without flipping it. But I'm just going to flip it around and do the same thing. So again, I'm applying glue just to that outer edge, sticking that down, and again, I can get my fingers underneath. So now I have my 2 panels. You see how I can get those under there? Okay, so the only glue is on the outer sections. All right, now I need to grab my ruler. I forgot to bring that over. Here we go. And this is where the magic happens. It's so easy. So approximately an inch in. I mean, you don't have to measure. You can eyeball it. I like to take my ruler and use it as a straight edge. You can do this freehand and just fold it, but I like to use a ruler because it helps me get it started. So I'm just going to start kind of up at that upper edge, come down towards the middle. So I've angled my ruler. It's about an inch or so, 3/4 of an inch in from that left side. And I'm just going to take that flap and fold it over against the straight edge of my ruler. Okay, now that that's started, I can finish my fold and crisp it up with my bone folder. Okay. Next one is going to come down here. Now, I personally find it easier to just flip this around and do the same thing as I did at the top. I find that easier. I like to rotate it. So again, I'm about an inch in from that left edge, angled towards the center. I want my fold to end approximately where the previous one did. So again, I'm just going to crisp this up and then fold it over. I want this to be a little bit further over. Okay, so I've got half of my fold done. Next, I'm going to come around the other side. Again, about a 1/2 inch over and angle it towards the middle. Actually, let me see, about an inch. Let's go about there. You know what? I'm going to do it from the bottom because it's easier to see. Let's do the bottom first. So let's try right about there. Again, start your folds. Now, do you see how that's coming over and it's actually extending past the edge of my card stock there? I don't want that. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to decrease my angle a little bit. Okay. This is really forgiving. If you get something that you don't like, you just do it again. This is a really, really easy fold, especially for those who are not, let's say who are measurement challenged. Let's put it that way. So I can flip this around, do it one more time down in this bottom corner, angle it out. Let's try right about there. I'm going to make that a little bit deeper this time. I went conservative because I went too far the first time or the last time. Let's try that. Yes, that's going to be better. And crisp that up. And you can see how that gives us our funky fold. Okay. All right. Susan, no, I just used regular 8.5 by 11 cardstock. You could use two-tone cardstock for your layers. You absolutely could. All right, so now that I've got those flaps all folded, I'm going to put a little bit of seal on the back of each flap just to secure them so that they stay nice and flat. You could, if you wanted them to have a bit of dimension, you could tuck a dimensional behind each flap. That absolutely would totally work. You just need to be a little bit more conscious of what you're doing in the middle and not get too much thickness. Okay, so now that I've got this, I'm going to flip it around and there we go. You can see how I have my background. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and glue that to my card base, and then we're going to work on our focal image. So the card base is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4.25, basic black cardstock. And I'm just going to crisp this up. And we'll add a little bit of glue. And we're going to pop that on. Just like that. Give it a good burnish. Okay. All right. Now we're going to work on our focal image. So again, I've got lots of little die cut bits here. So I've cut a larger heart. It's like a little, almost like a little locket, but I don't want that little sort of tag part. So I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm just going to follow the shape of the heart, follow the stitching that's there and cut that off. Okay. And then just like we did on the last one, we're going to add that little gold piece so that we have the peek through showing gold. So just like we did last time, we'll add a little bit of seal. And we're just going to tack that in place. And then trim off anything that's peeking out. There we go. Okay. And then again, I've got a large arrow here. This one is definitely, just see how I don't see my arrow at all. So we're going to cut this in half. I'm going to start by gluing on the tail part of my arrow. So it's going to come on right about there. Then I'm going to flip it over and take the pointy end, for lack of a better word. And I'm just going to, again, line it up with the tail piece so that I get what looks like a complete arrow. Okay. All right. It is a really simple fold, Arlene. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I had no idea how easy this fold was. I was sure there was some fancy scoring involved, but there is not. All right. So I have here a little white heart, and I am going to stamp all my love. So this actually says with all my love. So I'm going to mask the with just so that I can get all my love. I'm going to take a little bit of Scotch tape and cover the with. Oops, let's make sure that we're actually covering with. I only got half of it that time. I find Scotch tape sticks really well. Sometimes washi tape or Post-it notes don't stay put. So I've got that covered. I'm going to bring in my Memento black ink and ink that up and then pull off my tape. That's an important step. That's me how I know. The number of times I've done this and forgotten to pull off the tape is rather embarrassing. All right, so we're going to stamp all my love on our little heart in black. Okay. And then I have this little half-inch strip of Poppy Parade cardstock. We are going to stamp Sending You, also in black, on our little Poppy Parade strip here. And I'm going to attempt to do it centered. It's hard to see when you're not looking straight down. We'll get that out of the way. And then I had done a little banner end. I'm lazy. I'm not gonna do a banner on this one. I'm just gonna angle it. So we're gonna take the little bit that we cut off, put it on the other end so that we have corresponding angles. Okay. And then I have the smaller arrow that's just gonna get tucked in behind. We'll add a little bit of seal and we're gonna tuck that in. Now, I need to make sure that that's going to go on approximately where I want it to. All right, so this is going to get layered. I'm going to adhere my white heart to my red one with just a dimensional or two. Yeah, make sure I'm putting them on the right side. So just a couple of dimensionals there. I don't want to cover all of my little gold hearts there. And then this one is going to go on. And I kind of want to make sure this is a little bit, I did this a little bit higher. Let's see if we, oh, it's all right. It doesn't matter. This one's going to go on. I kind of want my arrows to be the same angle. Like I don't want to do this wonky. So I kind of want them to kind of look like they're flying in the same direction at the same angle. So again, I'm going to add a little bit of seal here, paying attention to my arrows, just like that. And then on the back of this, we're going to add some of the black and gold baker's twine that I love so much. So I'm going to add some more seal to the back of my large heart here. And then I'm going to take my twine, which is a brand new roll. And what I like to do is actually roll some around my fingers to get an idea of length. And then let it relax a little bit, because when it comes off the roll, it's quite curly. And it's hard to get this to behave the way you want it to when it's super curly. All right, so we are going to, I need to think about which way I want these to go. We're going to do it this way. So I like to do a figure 8. So I'm going to come across and around. Oh, that doesn't even show. Let's move that up higher. There we go. And back. And you want your loops to not all be the same size when you're doing this. It looks better if there are some larger and some smaller. And one more, just like that. And when I flip it over, you can see I've got my little loops peeking out behind my heart. All right, so a couple more dimensionals. They will help to hold our twine in place. Make sure everything stays where we want it. I'll stick one more on there. Get rid of our backings. And that's just going to get centered on our little funky folds. And then we're going to add a couple of our little embellishments. So I find the easiest way to maneuver, these are really teeny tiny. So the easiest way to maneuver them, I have found, is to dump some in the lid. You're going to take and put a little dab of glue, and I mean a little dab, where you want your embellishments to go. And then you're going to take the blue goo end of your take your pick and pick those little bitty envelopes up and plunk them down onto your little dabs of glue. And then you just want to not touch them. Whoop. Not like I just did. Come here, you. Sometimes you have to finagle them. There we go. And then one more. Right there. There we go. Oh, my take your pick is sticky. It's from peeling off backing papers from tear and tape. All right, there we go. Done and done. Now I'll quick show you what I did on the inside of this one. So this I Adore You is from the Love Story stamp sets, as is All My Love, okay? And then I added some little stamped hearts there, okay? All right. Yes, Mia, I love gold for Valentine's as well. I love red and gold and black. Those are kind of, for me, that's classic Valentine's. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer to add the gold elements. All right, so that is number 2. Let's get that out of the way. Oh, I should mention, this little strip that we cut off, you could absolutely glue it inside your card, okay, to decorate the inside of the card, and then you have zero waste. All right. Okay, let's move on. I've still got lots to share. Oh my goodness, it's 5:30 already. Okay, we got to keep rolling. So I My son is almost 19, and he is not a mushy gushy Valentine's kind of kid, kind of guy, kind of man. He is a man now. So I wanted to come up with something that he would appreciate getting that was not super mushy gushy girly. So I came up with this, a little bit of a grungy kind of effect. So I'm going to show you how I did this one. It's just a bunch of stamping and a little bit of embossing. So let's get to it. So I'm going to come in with my Misty Moonlight ink to start. And I have a piece of crumb cake cardstock. It is 4 by 5¼ inches. And I've got 2 of the larger hearts from the stamp set. So there's one that's kind of a striped heart. We're going to stamp that one first. Again, in Misty Moonlight ink. So we're going to kind of do that one at a little bit of a wonky angle. And then this sort of scribbly heart, same thing, also in Misty Moonlight, a little bit lower. Okay. And then we're going to come in with Night of Navy ink and this little sort of confetti heart stamp. And we're going to stamp that a bunch of times. And they're just going to kind of be trailing down the front of our card. You want to change the angle. I'm not being really concerned if I don't have, really great coverage on my stamp. That kind of adds to the grungy effect. So I'm not really worried about the fact that that's not a super crisp image. Doesn't matter. Okay. And then there is a single little heart stamp. We're going to stamp that one with a bit of crumb cake ink. And just fill in a couple of spots. Maybe one down here, just like that. That's all there is to it. Okay. Then you're going to emboss it using the exposed brick embossing folder. And what you get through the magic of television is something that looks like this. Okay. So it's just gives it a little bit of texture. And then to bring that texture out and kind of add to that grungy effect, we're going to do a little bit of ink blending. Here I'm using a smaller ink brush or a blending brush, not because I'm trying to be really precise, but just because this is the color that I have in this brush. So I typically would use a larger one for a larger surface, but I don't have one. So we're going to use a small one. It's whatever works for you. So this is pecan pie ink on the crumb cake cardstock. You could do this with just crumb cake. You would just need to apply a little bit more ink to get a similar effect. But again, I'm just kind of darkening the whole thing down and bringing out that brick texture. And again, making it a little bit grungy and manly. Because as I said, we are not a gushy Valentine's kind of household. So we're just going to come all the way around. And what I also like about adding the ink afterwards is that it kind of blurs the stamped images a little bit and kind of adds to that grungy effect. Okay, so that's all there is to that. All right. Yes, I like the collage look too. I'm a big fan of collage stamping. If you've hung around here any length of time, you probably already know that. All right, so we're going to glue that. Actually, not just yet. We are going to cut down our sentiment strip. So this is just a 5/8? Yeah, 5/8 by 6" piece of Night of Navy cardstock. And I have heat embossed in white Valentines. And we're going to cut this down. So what I'm going to do is just tack this very lightly with a bit of seal, kind of where I want it to go, centered on my card front. And then I'm going to flip this over and trim it using the edge of my cardstock as a guide. Let's do this side first, just because it's easier to reach. And then let's make sure that's at the angle I want. That moved a bit. Well, it's going to be what it's going to be. It moved a little bit on me, but that's okay. There we go. And then I'm going to pull this off, and we're going to use some more of our metallic rub-ons on the ends of our little banner here. So I'm going to come back to my rub-ons, and I'm going to take one of these spots, and I'm essentially just going to cut it in half and use half on each end. So I'm just going to trim this out. Come on, come off of there. There we go. We'll get those out of the way. And then I'm just going to cut this in half. And I'm going to take one end and line it up with the end of my little banner here and rub that on. If you are not a fan of heat embossing, rub-ons are a great solution because you don't have to heat emboss. It's just place and rub. No special equipment required. And then the other half, oops, let's turn this way. We'll rub that one on here. Just like that. And we get that cool little sort of burnished look on the ends. Okay. All right. So that now we can pop up on the front of our card. A couple of dimensionals. And I like to use the edges of my dimensionals whenever I've got a long piece like this. Saves time. I don't have to rip off a whole bunch of backings. And then I just want to make sure that when I place this, I'm going to get my angle correct. Okay, so I want to just watch and make sure that that's going to line up. Okay, and then I have some little heat embossed sentiments. One says happy, one says day. These are heat embossed in white on Misty Moonlight cardstock. And then I'm going to use my 3 banner punch. This has come back in stock. It was sold out forever. It is back in stock. So if you have been waiting for this, you're going to want to grab it while you can. So I'm going to use this bottom, this sort of pointy arrow kind of shape to punch my happy and day. So I want happy to be actually facing this way in my punch. So I'm going to just hold it upside down and center that in my punch it out. And then day is going to be going the opposite direction. So day, we're going to hold it the right way around and center it and pop it out. And then I've got my smaller gold arrows. We're going to adhere those behind our sentiments just to kind of bring in a little bit of gold here. So let's dump out these little bits. And again, I'm just going to add a little bit of steel to the back. I'm going to take my arrow. And yes, I do need to trim these. I couldn't remember if I had trimmed them or not. So again, a little bit of seal. We're going to pop this on so we see our arrow. And then I can flip this over and add the tail that going the other end, coming out the other end. Okay, so that one's going to go on just below. So we're going to add a dimensional or 2. And pop that on. I've got a big space there. We're going to add a heart to fill that in. And then same thing on happy, but it's going the opposite direction. So a little bit of seal. And get our happy on there. And then flip it over and add the tail. Yeah, Mia, absolutely. I thought about because I was demonstrating this suite, I stuck with pretty much products from the suite, but absolutely the gears and textures would totally work with this kind of vibe. Yes, 100% use gears and textures with it. It would look amazing. All right, and then we're going to add happy going the other direction. And then I've got some itty bitty gold hearts. So these are cut using this little die. They cut out 5 of them at a time. And again, I'm just going to come in with a little dab of liquid glue and grab take your pick and pop those on. I think these might actually have adhesive sheets on the back now that I'm thinking about it, but that's okay. Grab one more. It's going to go up here. There we go. And then that gets glued onto a Misty Moonlight card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So we'll crisp that up. Glad you like them, GDK. Glad you like them. Yes, I have a hard time giving my husband, a Valentine's card with pink and florally hearts on it. it's not his jam. So I always like to come up with something. I will show you the one that I designed for him at the end. This one's for my boy, my son. So there you go. On the inside, I did a little bit more stamping with the hearts, did a little bit of blending, and added my little love you. Okay, so that is that one. Now, normally we would be done, but I wanted to show you how to modify these very large treat bags to make them into a stand-up flat bottom bag. So this is the big bag that I showed you earlier. Here's the bag unmodified. These big bags. And here is my little flat bottom bag. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. It's actually really easy. Much easier than you might think. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my little guillotine. Actually, yeah, I think I can do it with this. No, I better use my big one. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my trimmer. And I'm going to start by placing my bag in horizontally with the closed end to the left. Okay, so from the bottom, the closed end, I'm going to measure 1 inch. So I'm placing the bottom edge at 1 inch, and I'm going to cut that right off. You might need to do a couple passes with your trimmer blade, but that cuts off that closed bottom edge. Okay, then I'm going to score I'm going to move that piece I just cut. I'm going to score at 1 3/8. And for this, I actually like to use my bone folder because I'm scoring 2 thicknesses of the paper. I like to use my bone folder in the track of my trimmer just to make sure that I'm getting through both layers. And then I'm going to slide all the way over to 6 inches. So essentially as far as I can go without opening the arm on my trimmer. And I'm going to cut the top portion off. Okay, so now I essentially have a tube. You see that? It's just a tube. Okay, we're not going to throw this away. While I have the trimmer out, I'm going to flip this around and use my right hand ruler. I'm going to line up that edge at a 1/2 inch, and I'm going to cut 2 1/2-inch strips. So there's 1 and 2. Okay, those are going to be our handles for our little bag. All right, the rest of it you can get rid of. You're not going to need it. All right, so now I have my little tube with my scoring, and what I'm going to do now is open this up, and what I want to do is trim along those side seams up to my score line where the red meets the white. So I'm going to take my snips, and I'm just going to trim upwards, just up to that score line. I'm going to do that on all 4 seams. Okay, then I'm going to take and I'm going to taper these a little bit. Just going to give them a bit of a notch so that, because I know I didn't cut those all straight. And if I want my bag to glue together squarely, it helps to have a little bit of wiggle room. One last one. Just notch that a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to fold those red sides inwards. You can see how this is going to work, right? And then these are going to fold in and we're going to glue it. So I'm just going to fold for a second along my score lines and make sure that those are going to fold, because remember we were scoring through 2 thicknesses, right? So we want to make sure those are going to fold nice and straight and crisp. Fold back and then the other way. And then same thing on this side, just to make sure those are folded nice and crisp. And then I'm going to put a little bit of glue on those red tabs, those red flaps. You could certainly use tear and tape or seal on this, but I find the liquid glue is just fine. So I'm going to fold that over and slide my hand in there and just kind of press those so that they adhere. Okay, don't worry, I'm going to burnish it really well in a minute. Okay, and then I'm going to add glue all over this bottom panel. And fold this one over. And that's going to reinforce the bottom. I'm going to flip this so it's standing on that bottom, and then I'm going to take I like to use my ruler. You could stick your bone folder in there as well. Just stick something in there that you can press and burnish that well. Okay, and there is your flat bottom bag. How easy was that? Like super easy, right? You can adjust the height of this. This is actually, I think, 4.5 inches, 4 3/4. If you want something a little shorter, you could make it shorter. You could cut off less at the top so that you make it taller. It's totally up to you. But I am going to show you how to do the handles. Okay. So remember those little 1/2 inch strips that we cut. I'm going to kind of open them up so that my little red gussets are kind of sticking out, and I'm going to cut them in half. So I'm going to fold it so my red gusset's there, and I'm just going to take my snips and snip. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Now, when you look at these, one will be like a straight piece of paper. One has a seam. We're going to get rid of the one with the seam. Okay. Just to make it easier to work with. So that's one handle. We're going to do the same thing with the other little 1/2 inch strip that we cut. So again, snip and snip. Okay. Get rid of the one with the seam. And then what I'm going to do is take my bone folder and just curl this a little bit so that it kind of has a handle shape. And then I'm going to come in with my tear and tape. And I'm going to put tear and tape on those little red sort of pieces, the gussets, the former gusset on our bag. So we're just going to add some tear and tape to both of those little tabs there. And then we're going to take and measure. I just like to measure. You can eyeball this, but I like to measure. I would typically use I can use my grid paper. I'll just count squares. I'm going to count 4 squares in, so 1 inch in. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm just going to put a little, I didn't bring a pencil over. Oops, I got a pen. We'll use a pen. I'm going to put a little mark there. And then same thing from the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. Put a little mark there. That's just going to give us a spot where we can line up our tab when we glue it on. So I'm going to take my tear and tape off, line it up with that little 1 inch mark. And I want the folds to be flush with the top of the bag, so I don't see any of the red. Okay. All right. So we're going to get rid of our backings on our tear and tape. Where's my take your pick? Make our life easier. And then I'm just going to take again, look at where my little pen mark was. Stick that on, press it in place. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. Get rid of my backings. Oops, I didn't burnish that well enough. It's taking all the tape off. There we go. And one more. And then that I'm going to line up again with my little 1 inch mark on the other side. So right about there. Press this in place, and there's my first handle. You see how that works? Okay. And then same thing, I'm going to flip this around. I'm going to do 1 inch again. Actually, I'm not going to take the time, but you get the idea. You're going to do the same thing on the other side to give yourself 2 handles. Okay. Now, if you want to put something heavier in the bag, you could add a piece of red cardstock to the bottom on the inside and the outside, just to reinforce it a little bit. And the red will coordinate with the gusset and will look really cute. Okay. I'm not going to take the time to finish this one because I am aware of the time and I want to show you a few additional projects, but I just made a little tag with that little sort of charm locket die and some of the little tag dies. Okay. All right. I want to show you a couple more projects. So let me get all of this out of the way. I'll bring back all of the projects, including my finished bag there. And then let me show you some more. So I said I would show you what I made for my husband. So this one is, again, the black, gold, and red. So this one I embossed using the same embossing folder we did on this first card, but I used the deboss side and I applied Memento Black all over it. I just took the ink pad directly to the paper, made the paper all black, and the deboss pattern still shows up. Then I took a Stampin' Blend, and so this is Poppy Parade, colored my hearts. And then I took and I dumped gold embossing powder all over it. It stuck all over because of all the ink I had done. So I just took my fingers and wiped off a bunch of the powder and then heated it. And you get that sort of messy, kind of glossy gold effects. So that's all that is. It's not a difficult technique at all. You don't have to be good at heat embossing. You don't have to be good at making sure that, you know, it gets where you want it, because it kind of goes everywhere. Okay. Added a couple of heat embossed hearts and a little sentiment and some more of my black and gold twine. Here is a collage stamped card, very feminine, using a bunch of the different images from the stamp set in soft pastel colors. Here is one that would make a really, really cute wedding card, today and always, using that cute pink. This is Pretty in Pink, which is actually not listed on the DSP, but works really well. Here's a fun shaker card using those awesome little embellishments. Here is another one where I stitched. So there is a die that cuts like a dotted edged heart. So I just took some red and white baker's twine and stitched all the way around with that one. Here is another shaker card. This is an eclipse card. It's a very large slim line with our little shaker O. And then finally, I did want to decorate the bags as they are. So this one, I cut a window. So I had somebody ask me how to cut the window. So I basically cut down a piece of the thick sort of chipboard that comes with our specialty paper to 4 inches wide. I slid it in the bag, centered my die, and I just ran it through with the chipboard inside, and it won't cut through to the back, right? The chipboard keeps the die from cutting through to the back. And then I just glued on a little piece of window sheet and filled in with another die. Okay, so that's all there is to that. And then decorated with some fun. Okay. All right. I think that's it. That was a long one today, you guys. Thank you for sticking with me. Let me switch back to me so I can say a proper goodbye. All right. I hope you like these projects today, everyone. I actually, like I said, I was not going to get the suite, but then I was given it to play with, and lo and behold, I've fallen in love with it, as you can see. So give it a check, give it a look, and there's still time to get it and to make projects before Valentine's Day. All right. Thanks for joining me this week, everyone. I will see you next week for another episode of Tuesday Live at 5. Bye for now.